Okay, folks, we got a book review, an unsolicited, unwarranted book review out of the blue with no discernible pattern. Of course, I'm going to be talking about George Carlin, When Will Jesus Bring the Pork Chops? Now, this was actually recommended to me by a YouTube commenter on one of my videos. So yes, we as creators do read those things, apparently, much to our detriment, I'm sure. But let's get into it. So, George Carlin, polarizing figure, loved by many, hated by many more. He leaned into that hate most of his career and life. There are some things that I think are worth talking about when we talk about this book, and I wanted to get into them with this review. Obviously, the title itself may be found offensive by some or even a great many deal of people, even though in context it's not as bad as it would seem to be from first glance. I guess you can't judge a book by the cover after all. But I wanted to talk about a few relevant things. So first of all, and I think you'd be okay with me saying this, some people you get the feeling like they died at the right time. Now, I miss George Carlin. I'm a fan. I've been a fan since I was a kid, but I can't help but feel that he wouldn't have coped well with how we eventually became so hypersensitive as man built a career on political incorrectness, and now, would he survive the tweet storms and tweet barrages of this day and age? I don't really think so. Some of what's in here would be considered pretty offensive by modern standards. But that said, I do firmly respect his ability to call out the bullshit in life, and sometimes in comedy and in philosophy, you do have to be willing to ruffle a few feathers, otherwise nothing profound will ever come out of it. So I grew up in a household where my dad basically worshipped George Carlin. I grew up with the 7 words you can't say on TV and watching his stand-up, and of course Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, one of those great cameos of all time. And I've always known him to be an incredibly brilliant, fast-talking, sharp, articulate person who wasn't afraid to crack a few eggs. His career, he started out as a relatively straightforward, straight-edged guy, and then as his career progressed, he devolved, or some might say evolved, into more edgy, aggressive, antagonistic kind of humor, a little bit more pushing the envelope, a little more negative, a little more libertarian, if I might say so. Definitely got himself kicked out of a number of venues that he was in. So there is that edge present in all of what he does, and that's what people love about the man. He wasn't afraid to tell it like it is, even if how he saw things was sometimes possibly wrong. So let's get into the bad. Some of the things don't really age well, and this is why I don't think he would survive the social media critiques of our time. He talks about euphemisms as a society. We tend to use too many euphemisms, and it's making our language less clear. Like, for example, we don't call it shell shock anymore. We call it post-traumatic stress disorder. We're replacing something simple and easy to understand with something that's longer and a lot more complex. A great deal of this book is spent on the unnecessary euphemisms that marketers and advertisers have inflicted upon all of us over the years. You know, various things have gone by the wayside so that everything sounds and feels more positive. Now, I agree with most of that, but sometimes he rails on about handicapped people getting too much due, and he thinks we should call them cripples. And in terms of semantics, you know, it's hard to argue that one word is better than the other. Obviously, we've gone past handicap now to persons with disabilities, and that's the kind of stuff that I think you'll find that maybe he missed the mark a little bit on it, or it doesn't really hold up in the light of today's views on life. But for every one of those little negative sections, there are several others that are really expertly delivered and that will make you think differently about how politicians talk or just the things that are all around us. He's an expert at picking out stuff all around us and helping you notice things. You say, oh, that is weird, or that is strange, that is funny. He's a genius. Nobody does it like him. So there's so much good in this. As you notice, what's not in here? No marks, no stickies, no post-its, no nothing. I was on vacation, not that you care, so I just wanted to enjoy this book, and enjoy it I did. One quick thing. What is it with New Yorkers and complaining about everything? They have so many specific gripes about everything. It's fascinating. I watched that Martin Scorsese documentary about Fran Lebowitz and, you know, Lifetime New Yorker. There's a lot of that energy in there as well. It's New Yorkers have this uncanny ability to look at just everyday things and say, that's wrong. You're sitting the wrong way in that chair. You said that wrong. It's truly amazing. I guess that's what living in a city without any sunshine will do to you. I'm not sure. But anyways, it's just funny that you get a lot of that here. Anyways, George Carlin, classic figure. You love him or you hate him. Either way, I love how smart he is, how well he plays with language, and he is second to none. If I could do half of the stuff that he does in front of he did in front of a live audience, I would be a thrilled person indeed. I have deep admiration for him, but again, perhaps it's good he died when he did, because I don't know that he would continue to be appreciated in all of his glory for as long as he was in his own time. So, when will Jesus bring the pork chops? Buy anything of his, read anything of his, watch his stand-up. It's good, generally. If you like more book reviews like this, be sure to tap that subscribe button ever so gently. Computers are expensive and keyboards are difficult to replace. You don't need to smash that stuff. It's pointless. Just tap it. That'll get the message across. And if you really want bonus points, hit that little bell for notifications. I'd really appreciate it.